Welcome everyone back to another Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast. This is Hero Darkness.
This is Rich Numbers.
This is Valentine.
This Red Renegade. And Blue Blader.
We're trying something new this time. Just let us know if you guys are liking the new audio. Hopefully it's a lot more consistent throughout. And this week's discussion and that is something that I find interesting because in our Discord server, someone mentioned about how, these people are being toxic and we have in our rules, like, don't be toxic. And Rich and I were like, well, isn't there a difference between being toxic and saltiness? And so I'm going to start off, first off with Rich, because he's the one that had the idea, and ask him his thoughts on toxicity, and then his thoughts on, we'll first go with everyone's thoughts on toxicity first, and then we'll go on everyone's thoughts about saltiness. So we'll just start with toxicity.
I feel as if I have a small upper hand with this since I took a personality class when I was in high school about this, and we read a book called How to Hug a Porcupine. And it's short.
Interesting.
Yeah, because with toxicity people, you feel like you're walking around on eggshells. It's hard to please. You get done with it, you feel more emotionally drained. It just takes a lot of time, and it's just feels like you getting nowhere with them. It just almost in the end, it's not worth the effort because it's just not rewarding being around them. While a salty person, they're just upset about something because it didn't go their way.
Okay, so if I'm understanding, a toxic person you equate to like porcupine and walking on eggshells, and a salty person is just like, today sucks, right?
Generally speaking.
I like to picture a porcupine with just eggshells on his back now.
All right.
Actually, walking on eggshells is actually one of the signs of a toxic personality.
So what if you walk on a porcupine with eggshells on his back? Is that a toxic person?
Probably.
Yes. We'll get more to that in a bit. Now, Red, since you're the one that is talking about the picturing of the porcupine and eggs, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I have a wonderful imagination. I see toxic and being salty as like a line, really. Like, there's upset, then there's salty, and then there's just being toxic about something. Like, it's to the point to where you are going way too overboard with this. You will become borderline obsessed with this one thing, and that you are disgruntled about it.
So there's like different types of toxicity, actually?
I mean, yes. You could be mad about some little thing and just blow it out of proportion, or it's just, you just kept it for so long, like this one thing that bothers you over everything.
I mean, toxicity, I think, feeds into itself, really. It's something that always has a characteristic of being manipulative or shady, and it feeds into itself like negativity does a lot of the time. So, like, you can have a toxic group of people who feed into basically themselves being toxic. You can have a toxic community.
Okay.
And pretty sure toxic group is known as goats.
Goat?
Goats?
Well, in Overwatch, like the video game Overwatch, like there's like this power, like known as a powerhouse group that is literally undefeated, and it's pretty much called goats. But I think they got rid of that since they made it more balanced.
Weird. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I would like to hear why you're saying the GOAT group in Overwatch created toxicity, and how you're defining toxicity.
Well, like pretty much you have like like it's just like the perfect team that no matter like how you try to face them, they're pretty much unbeatable. So it's kind of like frustrating and all.
So you're saying that they're being toxic because they have made this strategy of being unbeatable.
Yes.
That's making the games unfun. Not fun, I guess. Unfun isn't a
Not
word.
fun.
I can't English.
It's no longer fun anymore.
Unfun.
I mean, I can't play games where I load in and immediately get killed because there's somebody else who's like higher up who's like waiting for me to just like land as a noob.
That's why I can't really
Yeah.
do games with like random people. Like I can't do COD, I can't do
Yeah.
Fortnite or anything because then I just feel like I have all these people judging my play.
And they're so like rude about it too, aren't they? Like sometimes it's just so it makes you feel so bad about yourself as a person.
Yeah, kind of makes me feel salty.
Yeah.
I was just thinking over in that, in the case of what Blue was saying about the GOAT team, I don't really think that the team itself was toxic. I think it may have been the response from other players that may have made the group seem like they're toxic. Because what they did, they found a team comp, they found a strategy that worked, they did their homework, and they put together a team comp, which is basically how I was understanding what Blue was saying, basically unbeatable. And so that wouldn't make the team toxic in of itself. They did their homework. Though I can see how the community would have been toxic because like they can't get a win regardless of what they try to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a difference though between is the team being toxic or have they found something that has worked so well that you can't find a counter, and so that's a really different type of conversation right there compared to like toxic and salty.
So while still on the toxin lab, I will quickly grab my book, How to Hug a Pokemon, because I kept the book, because why not?
Great.
I mean, it's a good book. And
we love porcupines.
Yes, so here are 4 common ways in which toxicity manifests itself. You ready? 4 common ways. 1. Feeling the need to control others by threats, imitation, and some imitations, so on and so forth.
That might be one of them on the list.
2. Being a perfectionist.
Dang, 2.
3. Being a highly critical person. 4.
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just saying I'm a pretty highly critical person, but go ahead.
4. Being judgmental.
I mean, technically everyone judges.
But it comes down to the people. Like I said, those are the 4 most common things to realize that you are a toxic person.
In that case,
now those.
Into the acid vat I go.
I mean,
gonna pull a Harley Quinn in here.
Do you want me to read the next "Am I toxic to others?" The next 21 things?
I think we're good. I don't think we need to go through all 21 points.
I don't think we have enough time in this podcast.
Please not break down our psychological selves.
But
I'll continue.
But that's sort of something to think about. No, those just all 4 simple points. No, just 4 general points. Yeah, those 21 of the points. Find out: am I actually toxic to others? Which. No, am I controlling others? Do I want to blame others? Am I impossible to please? Easily offended?
No, I am not easily offended.
Rude, insecure, kind of abrupt. Those are just things you react to others not doing what you do by yelling, screaming, swearing, or name calling. Those are just some of few just quick stating what a toxic person sort of does. Now that does, you look at it, some people are salty when they some of these things, swearing, yelling, name calling, shouting.
Ooh, yeah. And sometimes a person can make you kind of toxic. And I think it fuels into a toxic relationship that's a little codependent. But I think that we all have potential to be toxic.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Val. I think we all have that potential to be toxic.
We're
Though,
not going to talk about Dark Souls 3 with throwing suns anyway.
I think I remember that.
though at the same note, you are the captain of your boat. You decide. I mean, we all have potential to be ugly people, but we also, on the flip side, have potential to be awesome at sounding people as well, and both are scary to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that, yeah, maybe.
yeah, like no, Val, I totally agree. Like we could potentially be that, and on the flip side, I like trying to compare and contrast, and so we have the potential to be like this totally like devil type person. On the same side, we can be this totally angelic person. One of them is just easier to do than the other one.
I think also that it boils down to life experience, because I don't know if you guys have ever been in a marriage where you feel like you'd rather not wake up, and it happens. And we got to see that ugly side if we're going to talk about toxicity. Like, there are people who are trapped in marriages or trapped in family situations that cause them to go a little crazy. And maybe they need to exit that situation, but I'm just saying people need grace.
Oh, yeah.
When they're acting kind of wild.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally, like, I agree on the fact that, you know, there are life experiences that does affect, you know, that could influence whether a person is toxic or not. Though that shouldn't be, we shouldn't excuse those life experiences. Rather, if they're willing, that's really important. If they're willing to, you know, make those changes, and that kind of leads up to the next question. You know, is a narcissistic person and is a toxic person, are they the same?
So what is a narcissistic person?
Fool themselves.
Someone who manipulates for their own good.
That is
They only think about themselves.
The only thing I can come to my mind is like someone who is like pure bent on rage and destruction.
What was the Smurf who... Vanity, that was it. That's his name.
Oh.
He's very much a narcissist.
So
also blameless.
So
controlling other people.
So before we go too much further, so narcissistic is actually a personality disorder, okay? And it's more common to and it's more common to find in men than any other type of people, and on the same note, you need to be diagnosed. And there's, as far as in the U.S., just simple Google search, there's fewer than 200,000 cases in the U.S. per year. And the personality disorder is a person has an inflated sense of self-importance. And it's more
ego.
And so that's what's meant by narcissistic. Now, narcissism, that is an excessive interest in or admiration of oneself and one's physical appearance. Kind of like the whole vanity, as was being talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of being self-centered. So narcissistic is an actual personality disorder. Now, Rich, with his whole book of how to hug a porcupine, does it ever talk about that, you know, toxicity being more of a personality, or is it more of a character trait?
It's more of I would say it's more of a character trait, because you can go in and change how you act to others and do that. It's your choice of why you're acting the way. It's your choice of what's happening, and you can sort of go in and change who you are. I'll have to go and reread the book to find out. But as
Yeah. And so, I want to,
first thing you have to do is first recognize that you are a porcupine or you are toxic before you can change yourself and try to do it. I don't know personalities, or they still can be fixed and changed. So
I think that's the point of counseling. I think Val may have better insight with her background in psychology with this, if her studies covered narcissistic people or that person or personality disorders.
Well, considering that like personality disorders were my focus, like narcissism is something that I unfortunately have a very close relationship. Not only did I survive a narcissistic relationship, but I also studied it in college. And sometimes it's not somebody who's so full of themselves that you can see it. Sometimes it's somebody who cannot accept their flaws and they project onto you the flaws that they have themselves because they simply cannot see it. They can't see that in their personality trait. And so they see themselves as flawless, but it's kind of a veiled personality because, you know, they'll never admit that they're the type of person to do this behavior. And that's what makes it so hard to treat. Because how do you treat someone who truly believes they don't have a problem?
So
you can't.
So Val, would you say then they see themselves as more of a hardworking or more responsible, more capable, or more intelligent than others?
They think in the situations that they are supreme no matter what it is.
They are the pinnacle of humanity.
They are right and you are wrong. And that's it. And that's kind of funny because that's another issue that we talked about earlier with echo chambers. I mean, you know, they love stuff like that because it just tells them that they're doing a good job or that they're a nice person.
Here's your cookie.
Here's your cookie.
Look, my book, because that's how I asked, was actually one of the toxic traits.
Yeah, Red and Blue, you've been kind of silent for a bit. I want to hear your thoughts.
I was actually not aware that it was actually a diagnosable thing, narcissism. I always correlated it with someone who was very full of themselves, and I didn't realize it was like.
I was I knew that Rich looked like, right. Like I thought it would be something that you just decide on your own. Like you can be a toxic person, or you could just not be a toxic person.
Sorry, I'm just picturing the Patrick meme where it's like, who wakes up at 3 a.m.? Oh boy, it's 3 a.m. It's like
3 a.m.
As you're describing that, I kind of picture like I would be narcissistic today. I don't think that's the case, but that's kind of, as you were explaining it and your thoughts, that's kind of what came to mind.
Wakes up in the morning, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
I'm the main character today, even though I'm a side character.
They half the time they don't even know they do it. They don't even know.
Yeah.
And I can see that, looking through my... Oh, go ahead, I've been speaking a lot. You talk.
I actually probably know a few people that actually have this kind of issue. Like, narcissism.
Oh, yeah, they think that they're all bad.
Yeah. But I'm not going to give names, but...
It's me. Come on, you can just admit it.
No, it's actually...
Yeah, it's Rich.
No, obviously.
Definitely.
No, I don't think it's Rich. I think it's me. I actually have no idea.
I feel like it would be you more than Rich.
Gee,
And
thanks.
It's actually someone that Damien knows, but nobody else knows.
yeah, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was someone in our past.
Yeah, and I think what Val was talking about, I mean, I we'll leave the past in the past because that's obviously something that she probably doesn't want to bring up.
We
Or
don't want to dig into the past.
Yeah.
Let's get the facts straight.
Yeah.
Hey, you can have the topsoil, but the good stuff is ours.
Yeah, and I think it is kind of a, very important thing to, not only acknowledge in others the whole narcissism and toxicity thing, but you got to be real with yourself and be able to acknowledge it in yourself. And I know, as Val was saying, it's a narcissistic person.
I was going to say borderline impossible.
Yeah, though growing up, as I discussed one time about church and that, there's one thing that kind of stood out to me. I was sitting with the young men. As a young man, I was sitting there, and my leader at the time was like, he's been doing this for most of his life, and he gave us this challenge where he said, take personal inventory of yourself. Before I explain what he meant, I want to hear what do you guys think he meant by personal inventory?
I see personal inventory as actually looking into yourself, seeing what traits you have, what you like about yourself, what you don't like about yourself, is really find out what is the amalgamation that you are.
Yeah. Blue, your thoughts?
I'm going to say it's kind of like what Daniel said, but it's more like what makes you you, and that what brings out the best in you kind of situation.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I want to hear from Rich next, and then we'll go to Val on your thoughts on what you think he meant by that.
Yeah.
You're validating who I am, if I've understood it correctly.
Yeah, self-inventory.
With me, that's more of me sitting back, looking who I am right now. Where do I want to go? What do I need to change me up to reach such a goal? And then how do I go and change about it?
Yeah, that's one way to looking at it.
I mean, self-inventory is like when you look internally and see what you kind of like life lessons. It's like thinking before you speak or thinking before you do any kind of action or choice.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And that, and I
preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things he meant by that is, as you guys kind of mentioned, that is honestly sitting down with yourself and not only looking at the good, not only looking at, oh, this is the goal and what do I need to change, but you also got to take a real honest look at yourself, and that's including the negativity in you. And so you got to be able to sit down. It's like, okay, I like chocolate milk, cool, but I also hate spinach. I really like this aspect of my personality. I really hate the fact.
Spinach.
I know, right?
I love spinach.
I know, right?
Like as well.
You're the odd one out.
Okay.
You are.
Actually, no, I do enjoy spinach. I was just going off the cuff here with the example, and it's like I know.
I like chocolate, but I hate sour stuff like Sour Patch Kids.
Okay. And it's stuff like that where you realize that, hey, I do really good here. Like when I'm at work, I'm very effective. I do a really good job at being at work, and I'm really nice with my coworkers. But when I'm at home, boy oh boy, am I a total jerk to insert family member here. And I should probably work on that.
Alright, well, I didn't need to be attacked in that sentence, but okay.
It was not intentional, okay?
I swear I love my siblings.
Yeah, you did.
For love.
Sure.
We do it back and forth, don't we, brother?
Wait, what? Who are you? Yeah. Don't worry, Damien's a really nice person.
For those wondering, yes, Blue and Red are siblings, and to go a little further with them, they are twins.
Yeah, so if you're
And-
like, why is this person talking to himself? It's two different people, don't worry.
They are.
I'm
We
the
can.
only one not related to somebody in here.
That's
By
okay.
the way,
That's okay.
Once and only child.
always an only child, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that's what he was talking about, and so that's kind of what stood out, and I think with him talking about the whole narcissism thing, not narcissism, self-inventory thing, it really helped me take pause and like have me take an inner look at myself, which probably saved me a lot of heartache in developing bad tendencies or habits or personality behaviors, so I wouldn't fall into some of these things. Though at the same time, you do have to be mindful and careful of that, because you don't want to be too harsh on yourself where you completely demotivate yourself completely. You're like, what's the point? So there's a healthy balance with it. And so I think you take what Rich says, like, make a goal. What Blue says, hey, this is something I do good. And, same thing with Red and Val, you find the positivity. Don't be afraid to tackle the darker side of you as well, and like slowly work on that. And if anytime, there's always counseling and that to go to, and counseling's for the millennial generation on down. We know that counseling's all not that bad. I know the older generation knows that as well. Counseling is really good to go to, even if you don't have a personality disorder or anything like that. Just being able to go is helpful in of itself.
It's having someone you can go to and vent and know that you're safe venting to them.
They also have no stake in your life or your decisions that you make. They're not going to try to influence you one way or the other.
They're not meant to be judgmental or all. They're just there to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've gone on a really long way of answering that narcissistic people and toxic people can be the same.
Mm-hmm.
Though
They can be, but they also can't be.
Yes, it's a weird paradox. Not every narcissistic person can be toxic, but not every toxic person is narcissistic.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
So that brings us to what? To our next point, dealing with salt.
I guess we're talking about salty.
Yeah. Now we're gonna talk more about the differences. What some of the differences. Then I mean, as Val, as she said, she studied heavily on personality disorders, and kind of what Rich has been saying about what he's brought up at Toxicity. I kind of want to hear those two thoughts, those two in particular, their thoughts on the differences between the two.
I think saltiness is temporary. You can be salty about something or a game or something someone said, but eventually it goes away. Toxicity is something that permeates and is kind of constant unless you make the active decision not to be toxic anymore.
You have something that I'm probably not proud of myself now.
Oh.
So everyone knows Super Smash Brothers, right?
Yes.
So I have a strong dislike for a character named Joker.
You can do it.
And me and Hero had a match. Really, this was like much earlier, like maybe a month or two back.
It was probably about a month ago.
I brought this up to Hero, and he's like, "Hey, we should fight." And I was like, "Cool, yeah." I don't like Joker. The reason behind that is because I had someone who I played with who also used Joker, and needless to say, I didn't even come close to hurting them. And just that experience made me dislike Joker for the rest of Smash.
To this day,
There's-
he still doesn't like Joker.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I still don't.
But when me and him faced off in Smash, they were good matches.
Yeah,
Joker has been balanced
the only
since
reason
release.
why I won is because Hero accidentally did some dumb stuff.
well, you have
That
to
was
win
the
somehow.
only
Right.
I think I have those video clips still. I'm going to double check to make sure they work. Maybe we'll post them up. Those were good matches.
Gosh. Yeah, they were.
Okay, Rich, your thoughts on the difference between the two?
Well, I sort of agree with along the lines of Val. Salty is the form of you get a kill, you don't think it was justified, you'll be salty about it. But as long as they don't go to the degree of such threatening you and hurting you or beating you and shouting, screaming, just simple, really, bro? Really? You had to do that? Stuff like that. That's just salt. But they can go to the extreme of the salt, then can turn into toxicity without them realizing it. Because you can take things too far and start becoming a little toxic.
So does that mean that almost every gaming community is more salty than toxic?
Depends on how far they go with the salt.
Depends on which actual community you're talking about, because Call of Duty is very different than say Skyrim or WoW,
Or Halo.
or Halo,
Or League of Legends.
or League of Legends, or Minecraft even. I was so surprised when somebody told me that Minecraft is one of the most toxic communities. I was like,
I got
really?
to vouch on that. Actually, I think, didn't we have a podcast much earlier where we talked about communities?
Yes.
Yes, we did talk about communities in one of the podcasts, and we talked about Overwatch, and I do know League. I think League was brought up, and League is probably one of the most saltiest communities. And I can attest to this. My last semester of college, my last year of college, my two roommates were on the esports team, and they play League. One roommate, nothing was ever his fault. The other roommate, he says he was calling his teammates idiots. And so it's just like, okay, I really don't want to be in this room when they're playing League, because it gets hostile real quick, and they're yelling at screens on people that they'll never meet. Because when you play with randos, it doesn't always end well.
We love randos. We love them, but we hate them.
You now make me start thinking out loud. Salty people are just they're so toxic. There's a degree of level people can withstand them.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, there's that line to where you can cross over from salty to being toxic.
Mm-hmm.
They're still on the same spectrum, but they're divided by this fine line.
And as Val was saying as well, the saltiness eventually wears off. The toxicity is like, hello there, I'm here to stay, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
I'm going to put myself in this part of your brain now. Enjoy.
Right.
Remember that time with Joker?
Yeah, because I've had some previous relationships, and after they've ended that, I talked to my sister sometimes a month later, and she's like, "You're not salty about this one bit, are you?" Fortunately, though, I have moved on, and I really don't think much about those past relationships. I do think about them and that on lessons I've learned and what to not get myself into, but I don't let it stick. and don't let the hurt stay.
Right.
That's
Eventually, I'll be married or not married or happy. You know, like you grow up and you realize, nah. Nah. That's all I gotta say about it. Nah. I actually had a relationship in college at the beginning of college, and I thought I was going to marry this person, but I'm really, really glad that I didn't. And it didn't turn out. And that was definitely someone looking after me because I'm really good now.
I would have to
that
say,
is good.
You were saying?
Brother?
I
No,
would
I'm saying
say
that was
I
good. Oh, sorry.
It's
Not
okay.
that brother, this brother.
I have to say, I have one point in life that actually took saltiness a bit too far in a game. That I actually pretty much hurt a person's feelings.
I mean,
Aw.
yeah, there's some times where
Yeah.
things get the best of us, and we actually become that person we don't want to be.
But a couple of minutes later, I thought to myself, like, I did something completely terrible.
Wow, that was
So
really
I
bad
went
of
back
me.
online and apologized.
Aw. Well, that's good.
I
Yeah.
think that's
You
one
apologize.
huge difference between saltiness and toxicity, is that some people can acknowledge that they went too far and will apologize for it. And from what I was understanding from Rich, the likelihood of a toxic person actually apologizing is slim. And slim on vacation
Yeah.
most of the time.
And going back to your people with esports, actually, those who are on the esports team who got one of his accounts banned because he was toxic. He used to be a toxic player, and then he realized, oh, I shouldn't be like this. So he got a new account and stopped being toxic. Because he would start talking to people and just go at them in the games and all that stuff for being bad players.
Oh.
Yeah, League has a reporting system in that, and so you can get reported for being a bad player, believe it or not.
Nice.
Yeah, League's its own thing. Like every game is its own thing, and saltiness and toxicity isn't just exclusive to the gaming world. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being able to recognize and acknowledge that it's there, and be able to acknowledge also the other in it in yourself, is just as important as seeing it in other people. And I think Rich really did point out, like, the top 4 signs to notice in toxic people. And yeah, you guys got any other final thoughts?
Well, I would say for me, like, a toxic person can actually make a person salty, like in some ways, and sometimes saltiness ends up into either pretty much getting angry at other people or rage quitting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Yeah, it's never fun being the person receiving the toxicity or the saltiness, and it can make someone feel really bad about themselves, or maybe they'll get upset and then they'll go be toxic or something else. It could be a cycle, really, where
Yeah, it's just an endless cycle.
one bad thing will amount to someone else having a bad time, and then someone else has a bad time. So just think before you act, because that can help and change a lot of things. Like, hey, this person did all right. I'm not going to be upset because I lost.
Yeah.
Like they did actually really good.
Just be encouraging and be positive. And like be mindful of others. Like be mindful of others' feelings and thoughts and actions. And like I always try to, if somebody puts in something that they say like, oh, I got this score on this game, I'm like, oh my God, congratulations. Like, so it costs $0 to be kind.
Yeah.
Yep. I think with me, at the end of the day, just watch how much you sort of rage, be mad, get salty, and how you go against others, and how you treat others not when you're playing games, but outside of playing your games, and things like that, because that does make a difference of if people want to be around you and help you out.
Yeah, so just pretty much take a minute, sit back, like away from the controller for a few minutes, and just take a deep breath.
And sometimes it's not even the controller you need to step away from. Sometimes it's the situation and the people that you're around. It is completely okay to walk away. If you are feeling yourself stressed, you feel like that this is not a healthy environment for you, it is okay to walk away. And I don't know, Val will agree with me with this. I'm not sure if Red or Blue knows it, but fun fact, actually screaming is actually healthy for you.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Also is crying.
The reason
Screaming and crying.
the reason why
I also know.
the reason why the scream is healthy for you is because it makes you feel like for that moment when you scream, you have a form of control in your life.
Just don't scream at others.
Yes, go into the closet, let it out, or if you have a park nearby, or and
I mean, you're hero. You're halfway there.
Anything out of breath.
just those are things there. And let's see, anyone else got any other final thoughts? I don't remember who hasn't given.
No, I think everyone had to turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to add.
Yeah, and so guys, just take the time to and acknowledge that it's a thing, but that doesn't mean you have to give into it. And it's okay to get upset and mad in life. It's okay. Just don't let it consume you, is my advice at the end of the day. It's okay to feel emotions. It's okay to be a person. Just don't allow those things to consume. And we thank you everyone for joining in for a Salty Chillers Entertainment podcast on Toxicity. And as always, guys, it's been a pleasure. And stay salty.